Hello again, welcome to a shorter Toku Ramblings. We'll be talking about the Shinkenger's movies today, starting with the Faithful War. Now this one's a bit different than the usual summer movies. Okay, it's still very short and just mostly one long fight scene, but this one contains lore. Yeah, okay, it's not much lore. It just goes back to the first ever Lord Shiba. So, the Shinkengers are basically really facing the wrath of the Kusari Gedo Shu and its leader Manpaku Aburame because of Dokuku's summer tantrums. They've been at war for 3 days with very little break and are low on morale, against their endurance, and they turn to the first Lord in hopes of finding a way to end him. We even get to see an actor playing him, which kind of helps to make the world feel bigger than it actually is, but it's still very much a summer movie. After we get, the early bits of plot, we just get a very big, long fight scene. Probably a lot more interesting than a lot of other summer movies because we actually get some horse combat to begin with in this. And yeah, it's a standard summer movie after the little lore bits. I get the weird feeling that this was also filmed very early on, since Genta just kind of feels out of place. He just kind of gets this fight scene with Juzo, so while the others are dealing with the main threat, it doesn't really get the more. I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, they were really sort of promoting this movie early, and then just kind of added him in at the last minute to just remind people that he is in the show. The new stuff that was added for aesthetical stuff, the Kyoryu disc and the hyper form are fine. I think the Kyoryu Zord is probably one of the weaker, or Kyoryu Origami is one of the weaker things about this. Aesthetically speaking, in the hyper form, I think kind of looks better on others. It's very scarlet red. And it kind of just blends in with Shinken red. It's fine. It's forgettable, but it is fun for what it is. Moving on from that, we actually have the versus movie, which is a lot better in my opinion. Shinkenger versus Golanger. So the President of Pollution, yes, for people who haven't seen it, the Golanger is a very funny show. Has defeated the Goanders in their best mecha and scattered them to different worlds as he returns to Earth in order to pollute all worlds by teaming up with the Gedoshi. Sosuke is the one who ends up on Earth and attempts to ask the Shinkengers for assistance by offering them help, but Takuro isn't taking his offer due to being so silly, and he leaves because he's kind of a dick. But they're kind of forced to work together once the other Shinkengers are fronted to alternate worlds and their mentors are captured. So, this is a very red-centric kind of versus movie. The others are kind of just thrown into other worlds that have their own little subplots to go. Through So I do really like this one. I think it's one of the better versions of the movie. It's very red-centric, so if you're not fond of everyone kind of getting the others get things, they're transported to the Christmas, Edo, and Junk worlds to have their own adventures that are interspliced with, Sosuke and Takuro's main conflict. And I do think a lot of the interactions work really well in this The teams kind of bounce off each other, and that's really nice. It is primarily a red film, and seeing the two come together despite their very disparaging personalities. And I really think the actors do a great job of selling each other and the chemistry that they begin to build. Mind you, the whole fight's not shocking. They try to make it this big, like, why are they doing this? But if you kind of, if you've seen a lot of this before, you really know where to go from it. It really can't say much about how I feel about how the go-onders are handled, though, since I haven't seen it, and yeah, the villain is fine. But I do prefer more the interactions with the new cast. Also, this film started a tradition that would carry on from here. The sneak preview of what would come for the next team, in this case, the Ghost Ager. It's okay. It sets the precedence. We see them fight, their gimmick, not really much in terms of their personality. Now, they're all just kind of bland at this point. It's something to give the Shinkenger villains something to do, since they really didn't have much to do. Yeah, that's sort of the big weakness. This is very much the Go-Onger villain, specifically mixed with Gato Shu, but it's primarily the pollution president pushing things forward. Or rather than it being a collaboration. It's kind of like the Ninja one. The Ninja Tokuger crossover film. But I did really like this one. It's probably one of my more favorite ones, just for how it handles a lot of the character dynamic. It's not a perfect film, but it does really well, which can be said a lot more for the last film, which was the first Returns film, and it really feels like a first time. So during a fight with the Ayakashi, the Shinkengers become trapped in a variety of illusions that are meant to be different genres as they try to break out. Calling this a Shinkenger return movie almost feels like I'm lying to you. It's just a bunch of genre pieces starring the actors kind of stitched together. Now, Go Busters would do this years later with their sort of Dobuchi Sentai Go Busters film, but that had a very different setup and a very solid framing device. It was a show-inspired world, and even if it was jumping around, you had a clear idea what each scene was going for, some kind of parody of a Showa Sentai. Shinkenger just parodies these idol school, but it's a girls' school, so the males have to act like girls, so that's funny. A sci-fi theme, a western. It seems like it's trying to set up that it's like one of these characters, but I don't remember anywhere in the show Mako being like she wanted to be an idol. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. It just feels so out of character depending on the person. Because, I mean, Genta cooks in his specific illusion, but there's really nothing to this, and it's not particularly good. The main villain, Demi Bakuto, just pulls the illusion within an illusion thing, but quite frankly, this film kind of just fails at being good, like, Sendas Chudo genre. Go Busters does this a lot better, which, yeah, you should go watch that instead of this one, because it's centralized on one thing to, like, do a whole bunch of scenes about, rather than just jumping through a whole bunch of genre pieces that they barely get to interact with. I guess Vianosuke's is kind of funny because as they make him the Lord, and he's kind of like, wait, I can't be the Lord. Well, let's talk. And then they break out because of that, and there's the weird, like, they're sort of animal ears now, and it's just, yeah, this was not a good thing. The Go Busters one had more. Most of the other Return films had more of a point. Since, they actually take place after the series, as it is a return. This doesn't return. This takes place before the final arc of the season. And, I would have liked to see them come back after maybe, like, a year and more or less them fighting, like, maybe the remnants of the Gedo Shoot if they were still around, because not all of them died. The main tactician was still around, so that was a good setup, but that would just be settled in the Ghost Sager versus Shinkenger. And which, again, you should probably watch over this. That, yeah, not the best point to leave this franchise at, but hey, this was still a really fun ride. As always, do the things for the YouTube algorithm, and see you around.